Okay, everyone, we're starting our Facebook Live class on Monday. This is the first class that I'm offering for you in this moon tribe. And we're going to talk about Saturn today. We're also going to talk a little bit about the nakshatras, the constellations for the week ahead. I'll be checking the Facebook group as we go along. Normally we'll probably meet Monday morning, but I had clients this morning, and so we'll arrange the timing in advance so more people will know and you can expect this. Okay, hi Candace, welcome. So in these Facebook Live classes that I'm going to do for you, bring your chart, and we'll also have time for some Q&A. Just a side note, I've been really sick, and I'm probably going to do some hacking and some coughing along the way. If it gets too bad, then I'll probably just pause for a second and take care of myself, okay? So we'll do the best we can here today. I'm still moving pretty slowly. All right, so grab your charts. I work North Indian style, so that's my preference. And I encourage you to bring your North Indian chart along with you. I'm just pulling up a chart right now for what we're looking at right now. Monday afternoon, Mountain Time. And we'll go from there. So let's start with Saturn. Saturn has just shifted into Sagittarius. So that's the number 9. You'll want to check your chart to see where that is for you. Saturn has just entered Mula Nakshatra, Sagittarius. He's actually at 1°5 now. He's gained speed very rapidly and gained some strength in degrees within the last few days. So that's a good sign. That helps give a little more support. You may have noticed the past few days, this past week especially, has been really intense. He's been in weak degrees. Technically, the entire constellation of Mula is a Gandanta, so is a gap that is notorious for uprooting, and especially on the psycho-emotional level. So we're still working with Mula Nakshatra really for the remainder of 2017 into the majority of 2018. So we're working with the themes of uprooting, especially mentally and emotionally. Remember that Saturn is structure, stability, support, especially physical body. So this is not a time, hi Yolanda, welcome. This is not a time to have less support. This is a time to have more support. Now at the same time, you're going to be noticing that your support systems are being restructured. That's the nature of Mula and this Gandanta. Uprooting. The symbol is a bundle of roots. So the theme for this coming year with Saturn has to do with uprooting support and stability. And I encourage everyone to be finding new support systems, getting stronger support systems in place. Hi Anna, welcome. And also to solidify the support within. So embodiment and connecting more with the first chakra. So this is our ability to ground and root and stabilize. And that's what's so important when we're working with themes around Saturn. Saturn is also the planet of grief. And we cannot touch in on Saturn without honoring and acknowledging the themes around grief as well. Saturn he gets a bad rap because of the grief theme, and most people would like to just jump over these parts, but they can't be jumped over. Grief is a part of life, and I'm extremely passionate about getting people to touch their grief and to acknowledge it as a resource for healing and transformation. So it goes without saying that as Saturn is going through this gap of uprooting, grief is also being uprooted. So you're going to want to notice where in the chart Saturn is living, because he's going to be provoking and uprooting grief in that area of your life. So I'm going to pause here and let you look at your chart and notice where Saturn is transiting right now via Sagittarius. So the number 9. And you can type into the chat and let me know what is the theme, or what house that is. And if you're not sure what the theme is, I'll support you with that. But what are you identifying? What are you noticing? So Candace is saying 7th house. So we're looking at themes around relationship restructuring. And technically the 7th house has everything to do with support and stability, because it has to do with the pelvis. 7th house is connected to the pelvis. So Candace, you're going to want to pay a lot of attention to relationships, and also support and stability in the pelvis. And I would be targeting my healing work, if I were you, around the pelvis, the creative energy center, the womb, and literally pulling up the weeds. So Nriti, the dark goddess, is the ruling deity of Mula Nakshatra. And Nriti brings with her adharma, that which goes against dharma. So even though she can be very mystical and spiritual and bring us back to our dharmic path, she usually does it by getting us off path first. And we have challenges and calamities and misfortunes, and eventually we say, "Uncle, uncle," and we have to find the resources that bring us back. So it's not without challenge and tribulation and upheaval that we come back to the path. So I know a lot of people like to say, Mula's really spiritual and it's a good nakshatra, and yeah, it is eventually, but through a lot of hardship. So to be mindful of the ways in which you sabotage, the ways in which you throw yourself off path. Hi, Jevni, welcome. The ways in which you get off path. What does that mean for you? What does that look like? Catch yourself in the moments where you're off. What is distracting you? What are you avoiding? What are you resisting? What are you refusing to look at? And I can guarantee you that in this cycle, it's a resistance to your grief on some level. So Candace, what we're talking about is that grief's living in your 7th house, your pelvis. All that old grief in the pelvis, it's going to start showing up. So how do you want to attend to that? And this is for everyone. Wherever Saturn is transiting in the chart, that's where the grief is going to start showing up. And why it's showing up so strongly right now is that we're looking at the uprooting, right? So this pulling up the weeds. Hi, Wendy, welcome. So we're pulling up the weeds. It's also symbolic of like the thinning of the veil, right? These Gandantas, there are 3 in the zodiac. And this is a particularly potent Gandanta. And the Gandantas are ruled by Ketu. So Ketu is the planet of moksha, liberation. There is a release taking place. Some forced release is taking place. And that's what causes the suffering. That's what causes the challenge, the pain. And it sort of comes down to, what's my relationship with loss? What's my relationship with transformation? What's my relationship with the themes around release? And this is determined by past trauma. We can see trauma in the chart through Ketu. So we want to really pay close attention to the experience of loss, the experience of grief, and how we either lean closer to it with willingness or we resist and avoid. That resistance and avoidance actually intensifies the pain and the suffering. And so even though the fear is that we'll get, engrossed in the grief and the suffering and the pain, it's actually not true. When we lean in, it softens. And so when the pain and the challenges show up in this cycle, it's a call, it's a reminder to lean in, to come closer to your grief, to come closer to your challenges, your pain, your suffering in that area of your life. So if you have your chart here with you today, look to see where Saturn is transiting right now through Sagittarius and those themes that are coming up. And I'm going to pause here for a second because my soup is boiling over. I'll be right back. Okay, soup is fine. So, everyone's going to be experiencing this differently based on their natal charts. We can do kind of general understanding in these group sessions. So I do want to encourage you to bring your charts to these Monday morning Facebook Live classes. So I'm going to pause here. If you have any questions, type into the chat and let me know. So what are the needs today? What's showing up? What questions around Saturn do you have? And we'll go from there. All right, I don't see any questions popping up. I'm just going to check the group real fast. Boop, boop, boop. So we'll go for about 30 minutes or so in these classes, depending on what the needs are. All right. Okay, don't see any new questions showing up. There may be a delay. You can always just holler at me and type into the comment box, okay? So let's just keep going. All right, so let's shift a little bit to the moon this week. Part of the intention of these classes is to just give you an idea of kind of what's ahead this week. I'll also kind of run down what some of the transits are doing. I know Saturn, he's my main focus right now. It's just such an intense transformational time that we're in. And particularly it's hard right now because Sun is debilitated still. We've got Rahu in Cancer, Ketu in Capricorn. It's digging up a lot of trust issues, a lot of concerns around deception and illusion and uncertainties, because Rahu, the shadow node, is in Cancer and Ashlesh Nakshatra, which has to do with the serpent energy of Sarpa. And he brings deception and illusion. He provokes challenges from his own fear. He can also be very mystical and more involved with the occult realms. So transformation can come from that level. But right now we're witnessing, this great transformation taking place within the feminine. And that has a lot to do with Rahu moving through Cancer right now. Old deception and illusion that's been quote unquote the normal is starting to come to light. And it's not like, all of this illusion around misogyny and patriarchy. It's not like it hasn't been here. Hi, Stephanie, welcome. Especially if you're a woman, you have to be living under a rock not to have experienced some level of patriarchy and misogyny in your lifetime. Every woman has experienced it. But now, all of a sudden, the blinders are starting to come off, and we're not taking it in the same way anymore. We're not allowing it in the same way anymore. This is a very powerful example of Rahu, the shadow node, pulling these blinders off of deception and illusion, misfortune, around the feminine. And the reason why this is the feminine specifically is because of Cancer, ruled by the moon. And we just went through a year and a half of Rahu and Leo, which was more oriented towards the masculine, deconstructing the masculine, especially when Rahu was at the edge of Leo in Magha Nakshatra. A lot of the cracking open of the patriarchy started to emerge in that. And Ashlesha continues that theme, but now in the feminine. The emotional body, the feeling level. And that's why Cancer has a lot to do with trust issues, because trust comes from a feeling level. I either feel like I can trust you or I can't. And that's where we learn that in Cancer. I either feel it or I don't feel it. And the deception and the illusion around Ashlesha Nakshatra and the Sarpa energy, the illusion, the deception that shows up. Hi Priya, welcome. These are the parts that are like, ooh, I don't know if I don't know what to trust yet. But as this, hi Jennifer, welcome. As Rahu continues to transit in the next year and a half through Pushya Nakshatra and then ending in Punarvasu, we will know. We will have a clearer idea of what it feels like to trust and to know with certainty. And of course, we can intentionally deepen that work. And that's a big part of what I do. So right now we're still in the murky grounds, and it takes a lot of resiliency and willingness to lean in and to look at those places where we don't trust. So I would encourage everyone to be leaning in to those places within their own experience where trust is an issue, fear is an issue, where there is uncertainty about yourself and others. And remember, this is key. The outer mirrors the inner. So what you're experiencing and witnessing on the outside, it's part of your own inner landscape. And this is a reminder to come to my Embodied Feminine Power class that I had to reschedule this weekend because I was so sick. I'm probably going to do it this weekend. Definitely come to this class because this is where I'm going to be sharing some very provocative resources with you to uncover and really identify where this patriarchy and misogyny and the deception that all of us have been indoctrinated into, where that really lives within you and your self-expression. So don't miss that class, and make sure you're on my newsletter list to get those details. So, yes, we've got the Saturn piece in Mula Nakshatra, a lot of uprooting. We've got the Rahu piece showing us deception and illusion, and Rahu pulling us towards it. Right now, Sun is debilitated in Libra with Jupiter and Venus. Venus, thankfully, is now in its own sign in Libra, so that at least kind of balances things a little bit more, especially for health and vitality and the feminine. Mars is still moving through Virgo. Mercury is now in Scorpio. So that gives you a little bit of a rundown of where things are. When you're looking at your chart, you can identify those transits. You can bring those questions to me in these Facebook Live sessions, as well as in the Embodied Moon group, and ask. Ask me what you're identifying and noticing. Now let's touch in on the moon. Moon is currently in Taurus and just finishing up its Mula Trikona transit right now. So moon over the last 2 days has been really strong. More emotion, more waves, more feeling. And then later today we'll see moon shift into Gemini. And that happens, let's see, get you a time here. So about 7 o'clock Mountain Time, moon will shift into Gemini, and still moving through Mrigashirsha Nakshatra. Today is a day to be reaching out, gathering resources, gathering support, and clarifying intentions for the week. So the coming 2.5 days will be moon through Gemini. That's number 3. You can check your chart for that and look for themes. But whenever we're working with, a sign, there's also a correlation to the house. And what I mean by that is moon in Gemini correlates to 3rd house, number 3. So we're working with themes of self-expression, we're working with themes of communication, creativity, courage. These themes show up in the coming days. And depending where that highlights in your chart, those extra layers will also show up. So Ardra Nakshatra comes tomorrow, and Ardra is very fierce, tenacious, and powerful. So expect some intensity showing up. And then later on Wednesday, Moon will move into Punarvasu. We get the softer side of Gemini. We get the resources of Aditi and how she blesses us with her gifts. And you'll notice that within every constellation, every sign, there are roughly 3 constellations. There's usually one that's pretty harsh, and then the other 2 are more gentle on some level. So what we get is sort of like some big transition and shift, and then a harvest on the other end. So by the time we get to Punarvasu Nakshatra on Wednesday, we start to land in the harvest and more nourishment. So I'd be looking for that in the coming days. There'll be provocative challenges Tuesday, and by late Wednesday, things start to soften. By Thursday, Moon has shifted then into Cancer, its own sign, and again, some evenness showing up, especially as Moon shifts into, let me backtrack a minute. So Moon actually arrives in Cancer late Wednesday. So we'll start to feel that evenness in the emotional body more late Wednesday and into Thursday. Pusha Nakshatra on Thursday. This is guidance, support, resources, gathering wisdom. Because Moon will start to conjunct with Rahu, though, as Moon enters Cancer, be mindful of that deception and illusion theme that's showing up, some uncertainty. It's a theme we're all working with. And I especially want to name the deception and the illusion, the mistrust around the emotional body. And I'm not going to go into my huge thesis around the mistrust of the feminine and how this has plagued us for centuries because of misogyny and patriarchy. This is a big theme right now. Notice how this mistrust of the feminine is everywhere. Even the stories around Me Too and sharing stories of sexual assault and rape and all the brutality that's starting to be unveiled right now. People still don't trust it. Still don't trust the feminine. Still don't trust women. You know, it's part of this culture now that we live in. And this is also something that's within us. We don't trust our own moon wisdom. We don't trust our own emotional body wisdom. It's a big part of my mission to help you start trusting the inner waves, your inner wisdom, your inner gifts. Not someone else's, but yours. And we get to confront this week. And it's also why I'm sharing this class with you in the coming days, the Embodied Feminine Wisdom class. So be sure to join that list, my newsletter list. I'll post a link so you can have better access to it. So in any case, these themes show up in the coming days. You can also look to the news and see what stories are showing up, and what major women are in the news, what their stories are, what's showing up. So Thursday we were working with guidance and wisdom as moon moves through Pushya. And then moon shifts to Ashlesha Nakshatra on Friday. And this is where we see the confrontation of moon and Rahu showing up. So, depending on the relationship you have with your moon and the relationship you have with Rahu in your chart, and Cancer, the sign of Cancer, you may see more intense themes showing up around deception, illusion, uncertainty. This also has to do with mother and themes of the 4th house, emotion, lungs, chest, heart. Interesting timing because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, Saturn moving through Mula Nakshatra, grief is being uprooted. A lot of grief showing up. And Saturn gives his 8th aspect to Cancer. So that grief shows up in the deception and illusion category. It's also an important time to gather, resources and support that are more mystical. However, be mindful of the source. Always work with someone who has a connection to a legacy, some old lineage. There's less likelihood of being deceived or being involved with misinformation or lack of integrity and safety. All right, so that brings us to Friday. By Saturday, moon shifts into the Gandanta of Magha Nakshatra as it moves into Leo. And we go into more uprooting in the emotional body. And there's going to be an interesting dynamic between masculine and feminine. So look for some veils coming off. And I want to encourage everyone to be really leaning into what do I need right now in order to feel safe and supported. Really important to be listening to that knowing within and gathering support and resources that help you honor those needs and acknowledge those needs. So what helps me feel safe and supported? And what resources and who do I have on my support team that really helps me stay grounded, rooted, supported? And by Sunday, moon goes into Purv Palguni Nakshatra, and this has to do with creativity. It's Shakti oriented, and a lot more nourishment showing up on that level. So we close out the week with a little bit more balance and the possibility for nourishment as well. So let's just pause here. If you have questions, you can type them into the comment box. I'll check the group real fast. Looks like there's a delay in loading. And let's just do a little bit of resourcing before we close today. So coming back to a breath. I just want to invite you to close your eyes. And just noticing where in the body right now you feel a sense of support. Notice how that feels in the body. Lean into the sensation of support in the body. Where does this show up? Where does it land? Leaning in even more and just noticing if there are any colors, images or shapes, textures that show up with this feeling of support in the body. And if you could ask this feeling of support in the body to share a message with you, what would it say? So if it could speak to you, this sense of support in the body, if it could speak to you, what would it say right now? And just noticing if this part of you can share a need with you. So if this sense of support in the body could share a need right now, what would it be? And just thank your body for sharing its wisdom. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And I want to invite you to share your harvest in the Facebook group, in the comment section below. Let us witness you in your harvest. And also to really honor the messages that have shown up for you in your check-in. And what is an action step that you could take today and in the coming days to really honor that awareness that's showing up, the need? Remember that the support lives in your body. So this support that's being restructured right now, all the changes taking place, there's also an embodied, living, breathing connection to support that lives within you, and that you can access at any time. I'm here to support you in that process of reconnecting with your inner wisdom and connecting to your deeper needs. So please check in with me if you're ready to take action and really step towards your passionate life of Dharma and living your purpose and being nourished and well fed by life. Then check in with me. Schedule a free Dharma coaching session with me below. I will put details in the, it might be above or below. Look for it somewhere in this Facebook Live video. I'll get the hang of this sooner or later. So yeah, reach out and let's have a chat. And also look for details about my Embodied Feminine Wisdom class that's coming up that had to be rescheduled, but will definitely be happening in the coming days. I'm really excited to share that with you. Some really juicy, provocative stuff that it needs to be discussed and it needs to be confronted and acknowledged and worked with right now. And the transits are super ripe for it. So I look forward to sharing more with you in the coming days. And don't forget to post questions and needs in the comment box below. You can do so whether you're live right now or you're listening to this recording later on down the road, and I'll follow up with you. All right, last chance for questions or needs before I sign off and go eat my soup. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.